Images and containers. These are the two words that will come across very often when you're using Docker. So let's understand what is an image. Now, if you look at the English term image, what is an image? When you think of an image, you actually see some picture. It can also be a person's profile or it can be a scenery, right? That's an image. That means you have clicked it using some camera, right? This picture was clicked using some camera. This was instance, a live instance which was captured on a camera, and then probably you have it in your system. So this is an image generally. In Docker's, image is a capture of a running instance. So if there is a software or an operating system that was running and you want to capture the instance of that, you can capture using an image of Docker. So in Docker, you also have an image. Now, this image is usually a very basic operating system. Very basic, the bare minimal operating system that is needed to run. Rest of the stuffs it would used from the host operating system. So, what is a host? You have a host operating system and then you have a Docker which is running. I'll give a term of Docker running which is called the container. When a Docker image is running, it's called a container. Very simply, but not exactly as it is, uh, you can think of a Docker image as you have a recipe to make tea, but when you actually have the cup of tea, this is the container, right? This is the process. Anybody can take this process, which I mean the recipe, and then they can run it. If you run through this recipe, you will actually have your own uh, container, right? And then in that coffee, you can actually, if it is a recipe for coffee, okay, this is a recipe for coffee, and then in that coffee you can add some more sugar or you can add some more coffee. So these are two different flavors when they are running. This part is the image. The copy, the snapshot is the image. When you make it running, it's called a container. Now, when this Docker is running here, let's come to this point where the Docker is running. This is called the container, right? Which is a bare minimal operating system. So if you have a operating system that is uh, running, you can make a copy or a snapshot of it. That is the image. When it is again put to run, that's a container. Now they don't run independently. You cannot, if you have a laptop, okay, you cannot put an image of Docker. Let's call this as a Docker repository or a word that we use normally. The term that is used is not repository, but they use the term hub. So hub is a repository where you have all the Docker images. I repeat, hub is a repository where you keep all the Docker images. Now, Docker, when they are running, they are called the containers. So this is your, this is container one, this is container two, this is container three. Okay. Now let's talk about how a container is. We are talking about a Docker container that always runs on a host computer. So if you have a new laptop which doesn't have an operating system or a new container, new computer that doesn't have an operating system, if this is your keyboard and this is your monitor, okay, you cannot put an image of a Docker inside this. This computer must already have a Linux operating system or the Windows operating system or a Mac operating system. And on that, you can have the Docker running, which itself is a bare minimal operating system. So this operating system that is there on your computer are called the host OS. Why do you use host? Well, one that is hosting others. Like when you host a party, you're hosting the party for others. Here, you are the host. This is your laptop's operating system. That is called the host. Okay. In this host, we have the guest. Okay, we have a guest container. So let's not call it guest. In this, we have containers. So this itself, you have, say, a container. This is the host OS, and then this is a container. Let's for this for now, you can actually think of it as one container. So this whole thing is a container. Okay, this whole box. Now, this host, which is an operating system, has a container, and this one is a bare minimal operating system. So you actually have an operating system one, and then you also have an operating system two. The interesting point is this is very similar to what we have in virtual machine. If you know about VMware, if you know about VirtualBox or the general term virtual machine, this is similar to that. But the difference here is this is bare minimal. It doesn't need the entire operating system, a heavy file system, a heavy structure to be here. It just has a way where it uses most of the things from the host, but itself is in a contained environment. It looks like it is an operating system itself. That's why this is a very light operating system. And this one is the regular operating system. That's how where we differ from the virtual machines. A Docker is a very lightweight compared to virtual machine, and that's where the world is shifting over to Docker. And we will talk about the advantages in the upcoming videos. Now that now you understand that there is a image, there's a container. There's one term that I brought close to is the hub. So hub is a place where you have the repository. So is there a hub where we have the repositories? Yes, you can go to Google and you can call off a list of Docker images just for a beginner's term to search where is a Docker image. So if you go for that, you will see there is, you see this hub.docker.com. Let's head over to this image. Now you see that you have a hub of all the Docker images. You can have the whole world of images here. Let's say, for example, if you are a WordPress guy and you just want to see if there is a WordPress Docker already, there is. So there is an official WordPress Docker. That means you don't have to do the installation. This WordPress Docker, if you pull that image and if you put it on your OS, what I mean to say is if you have from this environment, suppose here you have one of them as let me draw this here. So you have one WordPress Docker image. You can pull that and put it on the container. That means you can actually put it on your computer, right? And then you actually have the WordPress installed. You don't have to worry about the web server, the databases, the entire thing that is captured in the image is now running on your computer Docker Hub. We will run this in the next video.